If you, like me, come from a Western country, then you've probably heard the expression less is more. And this tends to be viewed favorably, especially in terms of UI design for mobile apps. Words such as minimalistic, simple, decluttered are usually viewed in a positive light in Western apps. However, in countries like China, this is completely different. Let's take an example. You open the Nike app and you see, to begin with, 2.5 products. It's relatively simple. There's much space around all of the things on the screen, and there isn't an excessive amount of detail in regards to the price, the sizing, the colors available, etc. You're met with quite a simple screen with a few functions and a few views. On the other hand, if you open a Chinese app such as Alipay or Temu or AliExpress, apps, keep in mind, that have been westernized and that are available to me and you, if you're watching this from a Western country, on a Western app store. And there's significantly more information available. Take AliExpress, for instance. You open it and there is pricing, there's discounts, there's sizing. You see about 4 times as many products on the first view as when you're comparing to the Nike app. And if you do have a Chinese version of one of these apps, there's even more detail. Just take a look at what Chinese Taobao looks like, for example, in China. There's significantly more detail than any Western app there is. Now, why is this and why are these apps hyper successful in China? First of all, there's of course cultural differences between Western countries such as Sweden, where I am, and China. Chinese users tend to prefer apps that have more functions, more features, and a more dense view of all of these features than Western consumers tend to do. In China, if you can squeeze multiple functions into one app, this is seen as something positive. Whereas in Western countries, this is seen as something negative. For example, we tend to split all of our functionality into different mobile apps, which some deem good, some deem bad. Secondly, there are very different market dynamics inside of China and Western countries. For example, in Western countries, all of the app manufacturers tend to be private and they tend to be singly focused on one problem or solving one problem. However, in China, the government tends to have quite a bit of a stake in some of these larger companies, such as Tencent, which is government owned to a large extent in China. And once this has become the market standard, for example, one of these apps, it's quite likely that other apps will follow in these footsteps. So if you are a new mobile app on the Chinese market and you're taking a look at WeChat, for instance, or AliExpress, or one of these very feature-dense apps, then you're doing the market research and you're quite obviously going to come to the conclusion that we need to pack as many features as we can into our new mobile app so that we can compete with these and or some of the functions inside of these already established super mega apps. This feeds this loop of just building and creating larger, more complex, more dense applications than if you were not placed in such a landscape, such as if you're on the European app development market, for instance. Thirdly, due to the regulatory environment in China, it's much more likely that the app market will be consolidated to a few leading players that the Chinese government sponsors and allows to operate within its regulatory framework. And also, if you are a government like China's government, you are going to be more inclined to have super apps where people input all of their information, such as their personal information, their banking information, where they move to, where they travel to, what they eat, etc. If you're tracking all of this user data, I'm not saying that Western apps are not, but it's definitely not as consolidated as in China, then obviously the government is going to have an incentive to sponsor or promote these apps to a greater extent than just an app that they can use to collect, for example, just ride-sharing details from a user. All of these factors in part have led to the development of super apps in China. And super apps are mobile applications that can be used to accomplish a variety of features. Take WeChat, for example. WeChat is one of the Chinese super apps and it has over 1 billion monthly users. And it can be used to chat, it can be used to post on your social media thread or wall, it can be used to order food, it can be used to manage flight bookings, it can be used to make payments, and it can be used to make restaurant reservations, etc., etc. The list goes on and on. And in Europe or North America, we don't really have any of these super comprehensive apps. Take an example. So I have a friend that I'm going to be meeting for dinner at their place later. I might be taking an Uber there, which is one separate app. And this friend might ask me and send me a text on my text message app to bring them some particular food. I make an order on Volt, Uber Eats, Foodora, one of the food delivery apps. That's the third app I'm using. And this person who I'm meeting later sends me a payment on PayPal, Venmo, Swish, or whatever payment app is available in your country. That is multiple apps for one set of tasks associated with one event. However, in China, WeChat could handle all of those things. So you get a text on WeChat and you in that text also send some money through WeChat, and you then order the food through WeChat, and you also hail your taxi to your friend's place through WeChat. It all happens in one place to a much greater extent than in Western countries. These dense, tightly packed with information super apps in China are popular for the aforementioned reason, but that does not mean that they could not be popular in Europe or North America as well. However, there are some differences that I think that cause them not to be. First of all, the Western world is significantly more individualistic than the Chinese cultural landscape is like. A collectivist society favors the outcome of the group as a whole in front of the outcome of the individual. And therefore, if one group or this group sees that there's something positive in adapting one set of applications to manage most of their life, that's going to be significantly easier to get through in an economy like that. People are going to be more favorable for adopting WeChat to make their payments because that's what the restaurants take, that's what their friends have. Whereas in American or European societies, there tends to be more of an individualistic approach to life. And that may mean, for instance, that this is your chat messaging app of choice. For instance, I have group chats on Messenger, text message, WhatsApp, and Snapchat, just because people tend to have different communication platforms that they prefer. Similarly, with ordering food, there are multiple apps for that inside of Sweden, where I currently live, and that list goes on and on and on where that differs. However, I imagine, and research has shown, in a collectivistic society, it's much easier to get more people and other people to adopt the same thing if it's viewed as favorable for the group as a whole. And that's the power of these super apps. The more people use them and the larger the user base, for example, the more small corner shops you can go into and they take WeChat Pay, the better for the group as a whole. Secondly, another big difference between Western and Chinese app design, and one of the reasons for these differences, is the approach to physical space. Obviously, there are some very big differences in how the physical space is laid out. So if you take, for example, most European cities, they're not nearly as lively as most Chinese cities of the same size are. There's information to a much greater extent. Just take a video of you walking through Guangdong or Shanghai, for example, and you can see that there are signs, you can see that there's information, there's a lot more visual and audio-visual stimulus, there's cars, there's cameras everywhere, there's much more information to process as a citizen or as a person walking through one of these streets. And then you overlay this with any European city, for example, Stockholm, where I'm from, or even Berlin, and it's not nearly the same amount of information that you have to process walking through one of these streets. And this too, and especially if you grow up in this, leads to quite a big difference in how you perceive physical space and how you perceive different elements of the world around you. And if you take a look at some of these Chinese cities, information is much more visually packed than in the European ones. And then therefore it's not strange that you grow to favor something that can pack as much information into one particular screen as possible, compared to one where you want to take it a little bit more calm, you want to spread things out, you want to have something that's a little bit more simple so that you can focus on this one thing which you're trying to achieve with this app. Physical space and how you relate to the physical space around you can have a big overlap and a big influence on how you actually choose to relate to digital design, and therefore also what design does well in this particular culture. And now, finally, what is better? And the thing is here, it's very difficult to answer, because you could argue that Chinese app design is significantly better than Western app design, just because you have many more features inside of one place. It's much less spread out, you don't need to open multiple apps in order to get something done, and you can get a much better overview of whatever you're trying to achieve inside of one of these apps compared to its Western counterpart. On the other hand though, this may lead to information overload. So the human brain is as much of a supercomputer as it is. The more information that we're faced with, the more we have to process and the more we have to go through, the more difficult it is for us to actually make it reliable, for us to make a sensible choice out of all this information. And one may argue that the Western approach to app design, the more simplistic, the more focus on just one particular thing inside of the app, makes it easier to process that, then go through the other choices that are available and make a reliable choice based on that. And now, obviously, this is definitely going to differ significantly depending on the person you are, where you grew up, what your relation to physical and digital spaces, etc. But in China, these super apps and this more cluttered app design seems to work significantly better than it would in the Western countries. And Western, more minimalistic app design, such as the Nike app, does not tend to do as well in more collectivistic markets such as China. And now, I've simplified this quite a bit to fit this into a sub 10-minute video, obviously. And there are a lot more factors at play here, and there's a lot more to explore, and you could probably make a 10-hour documentary on this. If you have any thoughts on what the main differences are, if you know of any Chinese super apps that are interesting to explore and maybe dive deeper into, then feel free to let me know down below. And if you like this type of content and you'd like to see more deep dives into app design, programming, etc. from different cultures, different markets, then also do let me know down below. Feel free to subscribe to this channel. It's completely free of charge. You'll find some free stuff down below, such as my app design checklist and my free Notion template and all that. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.